Hello, good evening. Oh, good evening. I hope I am audible and visible to all. Let's wait for 2 more minutes and then we'll pitch in so that the others will also join. So, as the title suggests, today we'll be having a session on CSV files and it's working in the language Python. So, we had sessions in which we completed the text files. Actually, according to the syllabus for the class 12 computer science students, you have to learn the binary files, CSV files, as well as the text files. So we had completed the text files section. Today we'll be looking into CSV files. Okay, so I hope all of you are safe, sound, and healthy. Yes, very good evening. Welcome to Let's Crack CBSE Science and welcome to my class. So which helps you to crack all the 11 science examination and the 12 science board examination with Unacademy, wherein you get opportunity to learn from the top educators, assured quality content, and obviously a great learning experience. So, before pitching in, a brief self introduction. Hello, I am Shalini. I am a BTech and MTech holder in computer science and engineering. I'm a teacher by profession with over 14 years of teaching experience teaching various undergraduate students in computer science and engineering discipline. With an academy, I'm excited to provide an inspiring learning experience to all the students via this online platform. So, as the title suggests, today we'll be learning about CSV files or the comma separated value files. Okay. So, a few words about Unacademy before pitching into the class. So, as you all know, Unacademy has grown out to be India's largest e learning platform. So, it is not just for the reason that because of the pandemic situation, but also for the reason that it provides courses for a school going student to an aspirant who is preparing for the competitive examination. Okay. Live and recorded classes offered by the best educators all over India. All you need to do is get a plus subscription. Okay. So, the details about the iconic subscription as well as the plus subscription. So, while availing the iconic subscription, you get an opportunity to learn with the help of a personal mentor, wherein a mentor would be devoted only for you. So, you get a one-to-one or one-on-one guidance from the top experts. Now, these top experts will be acting as your personal mentor. Now, he or she will help you align a learning strategy and resolve all your academic concerns. Now, there is a parent connect wherein there are regular open hours for the parents to discuss the performance of his or her ward, wherein the parent would be receiving a performance report like the progress report on a weekly basis. Okay. Apart from that, there is a live doubt solution session. Okay, this helps to solve all your subject doubts and get customized study plan, which helps to track your progress. Now, all the features in the iconic subscription can be enjoyed, plus the benefits of plus subscription. Now, once you're taking the iconic subscription, it would cost you only around 2,333 per month. So now the features of plus subscription. If you're taking a plus subscription, you get access to the daily live classes wherein you get opportunity to chat with the educator, engage in discussions, ask your doubts and answer via polls. Now all the facility while the live class is going on, and all the courses here are well structured and in line with the current examination syllabus. So this would help you to prepare for the examination better. Now, there are live tests and quizzes, which helps to evaluate your preparation, okay, and also gives you a detailed analysis of how well you are performing. Now, once you take a subscription, you get unlimited access to the resources. The resources, in the sense, all the live and recorded courses, okay, offered by all the educators, the best educators all over India. Now, these courses can be viewed at the comfort of your time as well as the comfort of your devices. Once you're taking the plus subscription, the subscription charges are like per month, it would cost you only 1,250. Now, these are the details with respect to CBSE Class 12 subscription. Now, this is how the live classes, the sequence of the live classes or the recorded or the upcoming courses would look like. Once you have the Unacademy learning app installed in your smartphones, so there would be a red button indicator indicating whether the session is live or a recorded or a forthcoming ones. Okay. Now, once you have the app installed in your smartphones, you also get an intimation via message prior to the start of the class. Now, this is a look and feel of the comprehensive syllabus of, say, for example, class 12. So, you would have the different subjects, and underneath each subject, you would have the various courses that are being offered by the various educators. Now, you can view this based on your need, requirement, and as well as based on the choice of your educator. Now, this is the Unacademy Learning app. I repeat, it is the Unacademy Learning app that you need to download and install in your smartphones. Now, once you have the app downloaded and installed in your smartphones, you need to select the goal. Since you being the class 12th student, you have to select your goal as CBSE class 12 and get a subscription based on the your requirement. Yes, good evening, Ritvik. Welcome to the class. Now, apart from that, there is a Telegram channel too, wherein you get updates about the various posts posted by the educators as well as the Unacademy. The common channel name is Quest 12th CBSE Commerce. Okay. Now, all you have to do is have the Telegram app installed in your smartphones and see the link. This has to be typed in the URL as shown and then join in the channel. Okay. Now, as I told you, once you have the app installed and selected your goal, you would be redirected to which is a subscription plan that would help you to prepare for your examination. So you can have you're given with the choices, and based on how it suits you, you can choose one among them. And then you would be redirected to the subscription fee page. Okay. Now see, this is a subscription fee with regards to the plus subscription, wherein you would have the different plans, and across each of the plan would be listed the subscription fee for each plan. Okay. So herein you have a table which is illustrating you the subscription fee for the plus subscription. Okay. Herein you have three different plans ranging from a 3-month subscription to 1 full year. Okay. The 3-month subscription costing you around 6,500 and 10,000 for a half yearly subscription, and a full year subscription would cost you around 15,000. Okay. So if you apply my promo code SLYT, I repeat, if you use my promo code SLYT, you get a 10% of discount of fee wavering on the Unacademy subscription fee. That is, the 3-month subscription get reduced to 5,850. Similarly, the 10% reduction can be seen in all the below plans, whether it be a 3-month plan, a 6-month plan, or a year subscription. Okay. Now, these are the fee details with respect to the iconic subscription. So you get a creative corner, which is also complimentary with the, with the subscription. Okay. Now, the different plans are either the 6-month or a 12-month subscription. So the half year subscription, the subscription fee is 17,000 and 28,000 for the full year subscription based on the iconic subscription. So if you do not want to go for iconic, you may please choose the plus subscription. Here again, if you use my promo code SLYT, I repeat, you get a 10% discount. So whether it be the plus subscription that you're choosing or the iconic, you get a 10% reduction or discount fee wavering once you apply the promo code and get a subscription. And see, this is the reduced fee after using the promo code. Okay. So these are the details with respect to Unacademy. So pitching on to the agenda of the day, as you all know, we have been dealing with CBSE Class 12 Computer Science, and we have been looking into the various topics, and today we're going to learn about CSV files, or comma separated value files. Okay, wherein the content of the files would be values, all the values, they are separated by comma. Okay, and we have to learn, as I told you, as per the NCERT syllabus, you have to learn text files, binary files, and CSV files, wherein we have completed with the text files in the last couple of classes, and today we are pitching in with CSV files. So let's get to learning. So these are the contents that the today's lesson would be covering on. You would have a brief definition about what CSV files are, the different features of CSV files, followed by the advantages and disadvantages. And herein, you also learn the different methods used in the CSV file operation. So whatever be the files, whether it is a text file, CSV, or binary file, what are the basic operations with respect to the files? Definitely reading and writing, isn't it? So we'll be learning how to perform these operations. Are there any predefined methods used, and if so, how is it used? So we'll be learning the syntax and then small programs, example programs illustrating the usage of the read and write functions. So moving on to the topic. What is a CSV file? Okay. So the definition says a CSV file, or the comma separated values file, is a plain text file. Okay. So we have already seen what exactly is a text file, right? So text files have a content which is easily readable by the human being and understandable also. So since CSV is also taking the form of a plain text file, so this means the contents are also human understandable form. Okay. So this text file format is used to store tabular data, okay, such as spreadsheet or database. So this is something that you need to note. Just a second. Yes, okay. So I hope the contents of this slide can be seen. Is there any problem or is the view blurred? Please comment in the live chat comment session. I hope I am audible, visible, as well as the contents of the slides are also in the readable way. Okay, if you find any difficulty, please comment it in the comment section. So a CSV file, it's an acronym for comma separated values. So the contents are just like any plain text file, and it is used to store tabular data. Tabular data means data which is stored as in table. So in a table means it would have rows and columns, right? So such tabular data, where have you seen the data being stored? Either in spreadsheets like Microsoft Excel or in the database, right? Database also consists, it's a collection of tables, right? Wherein you have rows as well as columns, right? So if you have to store data, I mean tabular data like that, how you have it, you are storing in a spreadsheet or in a database, you actually get the help of CSV files. Is the idea clear? So it essentially stores a tabular data which comprises of numbers and text. The content can be numbers, text or anything, but whatever be the contents, all the contents would be stored in the format of strings. Okay, so this is the next thing to be noted. The contents by default are in which format? They are stored as how they are stored in text files. So in text files, how the contents would look like? It would look like strings, right? So in a CSV file also, the contents are nothing but plain text. So once again, reading out the definition. So the definition of CSV file or the comma separated values. The contents are just like a plain text file. The only difference is you would have different values and each of the values would be separated by a delimiter or the separator, which is the comma. Okay. And this plain text file format. Now, if CSV is also that of a plain text file format, definitely there has to be some difference between the text file that we have already learned and the format that we are right now learning, that is a CSV, right? So when data are stored in a CSV format, it can be easily imported or exported into which format? Into the tabular format, right? Tabular format, like how things are being stored in a spreadsheet or in a database. The second thing to be noted is that whatever be the content of your CSV file, everything are stored in the form of strings or how in plain text, whether it be numbers or whether the content be text, all the things are being stored in the form of plain text. Okay. So moving on. Now let's get to have a look at the different features of CSV files. From the definition, we have come across a few of the features. Now we have listed them in bulleted points. The contents are similar to a text file in a human readable format. Okay. So the CSV contents, the file content are also human readable. Now the speciality, it is used to store tabular data, right? The data stored in the format of tables, like how in a spreadsheet or in a database. Now all these things we already saw in the definition. What is a delimiter? Delimiter is the separator character used in CSV files, and by default the delimiter used here is comma, and hence the name CSV or comma separated values. Is the idea clear? The separator character used in the for separating the different chunks of data or the different data values is called as a delimiter, and the default delimiter is comma. Okay. So if you're saying default delimiter is comma, that means that there can be other representations for the delimiter also. Like you can have semicolon or you can have backslash t or pipe operator, now as you wish. Okay. Now we'll look into how we can change the delimiter also. If you have not specified any other specific character to be used as a delimiter, which would be the default value used? The default value used is comma. So let's see the next features. Okay. Now, each row corresponds to a record in a database. Okay. Now, what exactly is a record? When do you call something as a student record? So, this is something that is usually stored in the academic section of your schools and colleges, right? A student record, the record would be containing all the information with respect to that particular student, right? So, what are we right now telling? Each row in a CSV file, it would correspond to a record in a database. Now, what exactly would be a record? Let's see. Suppose you are taking the population. I mean, you are doing the census, and then you are trying to calculate the population. Imagine that your the first content is your state, followed by the name of the village, okay, followed by the number of males, okay, the male count, and the number of females. So this is the contents of your CSV file. So see that this first would be your header, okay, the first row would be your header. It would be like state comma village comma the male count comma female count, okay. From the second row onwards, you would have values. So how would you write? Imagine you're writing say some state name ABC, the village name XYZ, followed by some number, say 100 and 110. Okay, so this is the population in the village XYZ. Again, you would have data coming like this, right? So the village XYZ, the content of the, the content of the village XYZ's information would be in one row, and following the first row, the second row. Yes, very good evening, Vishnu. Now, following this row, you would have the other information or values. Say, for example, you have another village, say DEF, and then the count, say like 200, followed by 250. Okay. Now, all these values. Now, see how each row is corresponding to a record. Record in the sense it is corresponding to the information with respect to a particular village. Now see the second row, again the information with respect to another village, say DEF. If you're taking a CSV file like a student file, and then you are having informations like roll number followed by the name of the student, okay, and followed by the marks. Now how would this look like? Say roll number 1, then you have a name ABC, and then the marks 100. Now the each row would be a record of information corresponding to a particular student, right? So similar is the case that we are right now telling. So each row would correspond to a record in a database. So hence in each row the pieces of data are separated by comma, okay. Now, as I told you, it is not mandatory that you have to always use comma. You can even change the separator character. Okay. Now, since it is a text file, there are no data types that we had already seen in the definition. Now, what did we say? Even if you are using numbers or text, everything would be treated blindly as plain text. Okay. So, it will be treated like string, isn't it? Now, so everything is represented as strings. So these are the main features. Now, apart from that, the CSV files generally open in MS Excel, and nearly all databases have the specific tools to import the same. Okay. So this is the reason why the CSV files have gained its popularity. Okay. If you're considering how to enter the data, how to create a CSV files, it is simply like you do not need any expertise to enter the data. if not through a program. Okay, simply creating an CSV files in a notepad or in an Excel sheet. If you're trying to enter the data, what happens is you needn't have any expertise to enter the data. So in that case, and for this reason, it has gained popularity. As I'm telling, CSV files generally open in the MS Excel, Microsoft Excel, and almost all the databases have the tools for importing the same. So, and hence it has grown out to be the most popular way of storing data. Okay. Now, let's see example. Now imagine that this is a table of information wherein see the first row of your table. It is a heading consisting of roll number followed by the name and then the marks. Okay. The roll number C, CS01, 02, 03 followed by the names and then the marks. So each row corresponds to a record of information, right? A record of information, a record of information with respect to the student ABC. The third row, a record of information corresponding to the student DEF, and so on. Okay. Now for the same, how would the CSV file structure would look like? See, just have a look at the corresponding structure of the CSV file. You would have the first one, that is the header, followed by from the second row onwards, you would have the values for the corresponding headers. Okay. Now, each of the chunk of value or the pieces of data are separated by the default delimiter here. What is it? It is the comma. So, this is how the structure of the CSV file would look like. Okay. So here each line is called a record and the record consists of what pieces of data. They are separated by a delimiter and here the default delimiter used is comma as per the definition. Okay. Now the next and main thing that we need to understand is why is CSV file format used. Okay. So CSV is a plain text file which makes it easier to for data interchange and also easier to import onto the spreadsheet or database storage. Okay. Now it can be easily imported to either the spreadsheet or database storage and then you can have further analysis based on it. So you might want to, as an example, you might want to export the data of a certain statistical analysis like how I told a few slides before about the population calculation of the census, right? When you're doing such an analysis to the CSV files and then import it to the spreadsheet for further analysis. So what is it most easiest thing with it? It can be easily imported to the format from wherein you can explore for further analysis. So this is a reason why CSV file format is used. I also told you that there is no Herculean task here. You just need to enter the values. The values must be separated by comma. And if you have two commas together, it indicates that some piece of information is missing here, right? And for this reason, and the data entry is also quite easy, fine. So overall, it makes the user's working experience very easy programmatically. So any language supporting a text file or the string manipulation, like the language that we are currently learning, that is the Python, they can work with CSV files directly. So what do you mean by saying that? Yes, Gokul, very good evening and welcome to the class. Working with CSV files directly meaning you needn't want any extra software installed in your system to access the CSV files. All you need to do is you should import the CSV module in the Python program. Okay. So the language itself has a module which is completely devoted for the working with the CSV files. So moving on. See, all the things that we learned as part of the definition actually accounts for the advantages of CSV files, right? So let's see each one of them. CSV is human readable, okay, and easy to edit manually. CSV is processed by almost all the existing applications, and for this reason, it has grown out to be very popular. It is easier to create, and it is the most preferred import and export data format for databases as well as spreadsheet. Okay, and it is capable of storing large amount of data and small in size. See this point, it is the most preferred import and export format for databases and spreadsheet, and this is a reason that accounts for the popularity of CSV files. Okay, nearly all the corporate are currently using the CSV files for the storage of large amount of data. Okay, so because it is very easy to work with it, and languages like Python can directly access the CSV files without having any other software or external software installed. Okay, so let's move into the next slide. So definitely when things are having file handling programming questions, yes, Soumya, we would be having a small discussion about the sample programs with respect to CSV file handlings, but towards the end. Okay, after learning, we are just into the introductory topic. We have just pitched in at 8:30, and then we are just looking into the theory portions. Followed by we'll be looking into the different file operations, followed by the sample programs. Okay. So that will be towards the end of the session. Maybe after a couple of minutes, we'll be looking into the programs. Okay. And good evening, Soumya. So the disadvantage, see, actually not much of the disadvantages, and mostly the disadvantages that were formulated in the beginning where while working with CSV files have been solved to a large extent now. Okay. So there is no distinction between the text and numeric data that we had already seen. So it is actually the responsibility of the programmer. Programmer meaning ourselves, right? We are the ones who are writing the program. So we should be careful about conversion. So we should know that whenever we are reading the contents of the file, what would it be returned in, which data type? It would be by default in the string data type, and if you have to do some numerical analysis, it has to be converted to the corresponding data type and only then used. So, since there is no distinction, you have to write and you have to take care of that part. Okay. Yes, Gokul. Very good evening. Yes, Soumya. Good evening too. And the next thing, there is no standard way to represent binary data in the case of CSV file. Okay. So these are the main disadvantages with respect to CSV files. Now let's get to learning of how to do the different programming. I mean to do the different operations, file operations with respect to the CSV file. So the first and the primary thing that we need to learn with respect to the CSV file is the Python CSV module. Okay. So we had already learned that Python can access the CSV files directly, and it does not require any, I mean, any big software installed prior for the accessing of CSV files. All you need to do is explore and use the module of Python which handles the CSV file, which is the name of the module. The module is the CSV module. Okay. So Python uses a CSV package which is a part of a standard library. So you needn't install it. All you need to do is what? Import it. Okay. So how to import the CSV module in a program? The syntax says use the keyword import followed by the name of your module. What is the name of your module? CSV. Okay. Since Python is case sensitive, be careful with the syntax. Everything is in smaller case letters. So this is a very first statement that you would be writing in a program which is going to handle the CSV files. Okay, what is it? Importing the CSV module. Now, getting to learning the different CSV file operations in Python. Okay, so you can perform the various and several came together. Okay, you can perform the several manipulations once a CSV file is loaded. The CSV module is used for reading and writing files. So, why exactly have we imported the module CSV? Why? Because I told you the basic operations with respect to any file would be reading and writing, isn't it? So even if you're considering the CSV files, it is definitely the reading and writing operations that you're going to perform. Now, when you have to do the file operations like reading and writing, the operations with respect to the CSV files, definitely the name of the functions and methods that you would be using is different, right? So all the functions used for such file operations are defined in the CSV module. Okay, now this is the main reason why you are importing the CSV module. Okay, so the CSV module is used for reading and writing the files, and we'll be looking into the different functions and methods one by one. So more or less like our text file. Now whatever we have used there would be here also, except for the difference of how things would be handled differently in the case of CSV files. See here, import CSV. Now this is the first and primary thing that you need to do prior to getting into the file operations, right? Now you have to open the file. Only after opening the file or only after loading the file can you do the different operations, right? So how do you open a text file? Using the open function. Similarly, the same function is used for opening the CSV file also. Just be careful with the name of the file. See the name of the file. The extension is .csv to indicate that it is a CSV file. And the second argument is the mode in which you are trying to open the file. So based on the file operation that you are going to perform, it would decide the mode in which you are trying to. Yes, Soumya. Yes, I have taught the functions chapter of class 12th also. See, what you need to do is just subscribe this channel. Let's crack CBSE Science. And then what you have to do is you can follow me in the app. There is an app also running for Unacademy as well as the YouTube channel. So in Let's Crack CBSE Science, you would have all the video listing. My name is Shalini. Okay. All you need to do is just you can search for this lectures posted by me, wherein you can have all the lessons that are being covered as per the NCRT syllabus. Okay. And if you wish to learn from the app, in the app also the classes are free. Okay. So you just have to have the app downloaded or installed in your smartphones, Unacademy learning app. Okay. Now, if you have the app, the classes, you can unlock the free content either by using my code SPSL or by using my code SLYT. Okay, either of this code is okay. And you can unlock this class, unlock the free content using either of these codes and then search for me in the goal CBSE class 12. Even therein you can find the lectures, detailed lectures on functions also. How could you ask me? You can either post it here or in the app also you can post. Okay, Soumya? So currently I do not have a personalized Telegram channel. So once I start it, I'll be giving the channel name also so that you can ask personally in that. Fine. Yes, press game 321. Yes, good evening. Okay, so let's get back to learning. So I told you we have been looking into the CSV file operations. So the first thing is importing the module. After that, opening the function. How do you open any text file? Using the open function, right? The open function had primarily two parameters which were there. The name of the file followed by the mode, and you can have one more argument also, which is the wherein you can, that is completely optional, right? Wherein you can have the new line which could be changed. Okay. Now currently I'm not using the optional argument. I'm only using the mandatory two arguments. Mandatory meaning which has to be used compulsorily. The name of your file followed by the mode in which you are opening. Now since the file we are going to handle with CSV files, you need to be careful with the extension of your files. It should be the name dot CSV. Okay. Now, if we are trying to perform the writing operations onto the CSV file, so which is a mode in which you are going to open it, write. And if you are concerned with the reading operations that you're going to do, I mean, it has to be opened in the read mode. Now, it's not only in the read or just the write mode. You can even open the file in all the modes that are available for the text files also, namely R, W, A, and also the plus versions like R plus, W plus, and A plus. Okay. Now, after the entire operations with respect to the files are over, okay, what is the next final thing that you have to do? You have to close the file. How do you close it? F dot close. Okay. And one more thing that we had already discussed when we were discussing the text files, if you're not using the with keyword and if you are opening the files using the open function, definitely you have to close the file, right? If you're using it, if you're opening the file using the with keyword, then you needn't, I mean, it is not, it's okay if you haven't closed the file using f dot close. Now, what was f here? Whenever you're opening a file, okay, this open function will return a value. Every function can return some or the other values, right? Either none or some or the other values also. Now here in the open function, after creating or opening your file would return something which is of type file, okay, or which is your file object, okay, and this file object can be saved in your variable f. Now this is a user defined variable and this identifier name is f. Now it is using this f that we would be performing the various writing and reading operations, right? Now for closing also you have to specify the file object name or the handle name and then dot close. Now for this reason we already have discussed, we call open as a function and close as a method. Why? Because open is a standalone function. It is not existing along with an object. But if you have to use a close, it is a method, right? Why? Because it is the object name dot the function name that you are going to access. And for this reason, close is called as the method. Okay. So these are the basic things. That means opening and closing a file. Okay. So moving on to a detailed discussion. The CSV module provides two types of objects. Now, what would be the two types of objects for? Definitely for reading as well as for writing. Now, let's see the objects. Reader, okay, everything in smaller case letters and followed by the function brackets, the opening and closing bracket, and then writer, again in smaller case letters with the opening and closing brackets. Okay. Now the reader, as the name suggests, it is for reading from the CSV file. So you have some contents in the CSV file And then when you're trying to read the contents, you would be using which object? Reader. And if you have to write something onto the CSV file, which is the object that you are going to use? The method you're going to use this writer method. Okay. Now let's see the syntax followed by the operations. So the first thing that we are going to learn in detail is the writing on CSV files. Okay. So to write data to a CSV files, which is a function or the method that we are going to use, the writer function. Okay. The writer instance provides the following two methods. Okay. So the primarily you should have this writer function. Okay. Now this function would be returning it would be returning an object, and using that object you can access two methods. Which are the two methods? Write row or write rows. Okay. The singular as well as the plural version. Okay. So write row meaning which helps you to write a single row of data, and write rows, since it is a plural version, it is helping you to write not just a single row but multiple rows of data. Okay. Now the next thing that you need to understand, see the method write row, it would write a single row of data and return something. What does it return? It would return the character count that you have written, the number of characters written. The row must be a sequence of strings and number. Okay, that is definite. We had already seen in the definition. Okay, row meaning the record. Okay, now write rows. It writes multiple rows of data. Now, since it is writing multiple rows of data, that means the entire content in one go. Okay. Now that it is not returning any number, instead it is returning the special literal. What is a special literal? It is the none. Okay. Now all the rows must be a sequence. In the sequence, in the sense, it can be a list, a tuple, or a dictionary, a string, or a set. Okay. It can be either of this sequence of data. So what are the two methods used for writing onto the CSV file? Write row and write rows. Okay. If you have to write a single row of data or single row of information, you use the method write row and write rows. The word itself sounds in a plural form, right? So it suggests that, or it indicates, which helps you to write multiple rows of data. Okay. It is not just one by one, but multiple rows of data in one go. So together you can write the entire content. And what is the mandatory thing? The rows must be a sequence. So it has to be stored in some form of sequence. Like how we discussed for like list, tuple, or a dictionary. Next, we're going to learn, all the methods and instances that we have just saw right now. So just a second. Let me take a small break. Yes, back again. Okay. So CSV dot writer. So first thing, you have to import the CSV module. Now, once the module is imported, all the functions that we have just now learned are defined in the CSV module. Okay. So which is the first thing that you would be trying to invoke? You would be trying to invoke the writer function. Okay. So writer function, which is defined in the CSV module, how do you access it? CSV dot writer. Now this particular function would return an object. And what is the object? The object is a writer object. Now this would write data onto the CSV files. So it is actually using the writer object that the writing onto the CSV files would be happening. Now is it the writer function that is going to write the contents? No. For writing the contents onto the file, you have specifically defined two methods. Which were they? Right row and right rows that we had previously seen on the slide, the previous slide. Okay, and how to access these methods? See, as we told, CSV.writer would return an object. Okay, so this object returned would be a writer object. So using this writer object, are you going to access the methods? So how do you access it? Writer object dot write row and writer object dot write rows. Okay. Now, what would write row do? It would just write a single row of data onto the writer object, and write rows, it would write the multiple rows of data onto the writer object. Okay, so this is how things would be happening. Now that we have just looked into the theory portions, when you look into the, when we have a discussion with the programs, it would be more clear. So I hope so far the topics are clear to you. We are just about to start learning the programs. Prior to that, the theory that we need to understand is the opening of a CSV file is same, the opening as well as the closing is same as how we do it with the text file. The only thing we need to take care of is the name of the file, that is the extension here would be .csv. Name of the file .csv. Now the modes of opening the file are exactly the same as how we do it with the text files. Okay, we do have a file pointer or the file handle or the file object which would be returned by the open function, and it is using this file object that would be closing the file. And then primarily the next thing that we're going to learn is writing onto the CSV files. So if you have to do the reading as well as the writing, the first thing that you need to import in your program is the CSV module. How do you import it? Using the keyword import. So import space CSV. Okay. Once you have the module imported in your program, can you start with the file operation? So which is a thing that we are learning right now, how to write onto the CSV files, right? So it is using the writer function. Since the writer function is defined in the CSV module, how do you access or invoke it? CSV.writer. Now this particular function would return an object. Since we are using it for the writing operation, the object returned is called as the writer object. Now it is this writer object that the methods write row as well as write rows use for invoking itself, which helps in writing a single row of data as well as multiple row of data. Okay, let's see a small program so that we would understand the concept that we right now learned. Okay, so see here, the program would illustrate writing in a CSV file using which method? Write row. Okay, so since you are using a write row, you have to write each row of information, isn't it? So which is the first and primary thing that you need to do in your program? You need to import what? The CSV modules, because right now we are going to handle with the CSV files. Okay. Now, I have already defined what is going to be the contents and what we are currently going to write onto the file. Okay. Your first row would be your header row, right? So I'm going to create a student's detail file, okay, in the form of CSV. So let me name the file to be studentsdet.csv. A shorthand form for illustrating it is the details about the students in CSV format. And since it is a CSV file, the extension is .csv. And we are going to do the writing operation. So which is a mode in which it has to be opened? It is going to be opened in the W mode. Okay. Now let me define the header as well as the rows. Header. What are the headers? See, roll number, name, and marks. Okay. Now the header is actually a list. And see here, rows. Rows is actually the values or records inside your CSV file. Now rows is a nested list here, and each content of your nested list is itself a list. Okay, the content of your nested list or the content of your rows itself is each one of the content is a list, and inside the list the first value would be corresponding to the roll number, second to the name, and third to the mark. So this is how it would be appearing. And next thing that you need to understand, though you have text as well as numbers, everything once you enter into the CSV file would be treated like what? It would be treated only like strings, right? Okay, so after assigning the header, the rows, we have opened the file in the write mode. ST writer. Now, what is the next thing that you need to do? You need to invoke the writer function, right? How do you invoke it? It is defined in the CSV module. So, CSV.writer. Now, where are you actually going to write? You are going to write in the file studentsdet.csv, isn't it? Now see the file handle or the file object of the file F. Now you have to pass the file object as argument. So how is this interpreted? This is interpreted that you are trying to invoke the writer function onto the file pointed by the file object F. Now which is the file which is pointed to by F students DET, right? So we are going to write onto this file. Now, whenever you are invoking the csv.writer method, what happens? An object is returned and the object is stored in this variable stWriter. Now, it is using this object that we are going to write the information. So, stWriter.write row of the header. Now, which is the first thing that you would be writing onto your files? Definitely the header, right? And only then will come the values. So stWriter.write row. Since you just have a single row of information, I'm passing as parameter to the right row the list that is to be written, the contents of the list header. Fine. Now what is the next thing that you have to write? You have to write the entire contents of rows, the list named rows. How do you write it? See here, you use an iterable. So for I in rows, okay, so each content of your rows would be taking the value of I each time, and then it would be written onto the file. Written onto which file? The file or pointed to by the file object stWriter. Okay, the writer object is stWriter. So stWriter.write row, and inside the write row you pass as argument the name of the list rows. Okay, so currently sorry, not rows here, I'm sorry, a small mistake, it is right row of I. Okay, each time I. So what would happen? So what would happen here? Each time the value of the I progresses, I would be indicating it would first have the element at the index value 0, which is that it is an entire list, that is an entire record. This would be written onto the file, and later in the next iteration, what would happen? In the next line, the next content would be written. So this is how the entire file content would be written onto your file. Now, if you had to write all the rows in one go, what would you be doing? Instead of using you needn't use a loop here. Just avoid this particular loop, and then stWriter.write rows of rows. Instead of I, you would be writing here rows, okay, as the argument. So in one go, you can have the multiple rows written together. Fine. So see here, using write rows, since the header has to be written independently, we write it using the method write row, and the write rows stWriter.write rows of rows. Okay. Now, since you do not need a loop here, so you would be writing in line with the your entire program. Is the idea clear? So this is a program illustrating how to write in a CSV file using the right rows. Is the idea clear? So we have now learned how to write the content of a file using right row as well as right rows. Okay. Now, when we are comparing these two programs, we find that using the program using right rows is much easier because we do not have the headache of writing a loop and then the different iterations. All this could be avoided just by a single statement, right? Okay. Uh, Now, see, in the previous two programs, how did we write the contents onto the file? You actually had it defined in your program and it is the same contents that was being carried over or written onto the file. Right. Now that we are going to discuss a program wherein you would read the contents from the user, and each time you have a record ready, this record is written onto the file. Okay, so this is what we are going to learn right now. That is an interactive program wherein the records are inputted from the user and this particular records are then fed onto the written onto the CSV file. Okay. So let's get to learning of this program. What is the first thing to be imported? We need to import the CSV module because since we are going to work with what? CSV files. So next we need to open the file. How do you open it? F is equal to open of students.det.csv and which mode? Write mode because you're going to write onto the CSV files, right? Now, what are we going to do? We are first thing that we are going to do is invoking the writer function. This writer function is defined in the CSV module. So how do you do it? CSV.writer. You need to pass as argument what? The file object of our file, CSV file. Okay. Now CSV.writer, this function would return an object. Which object? Writer object. Now the writer object here is st writer. Okay. Now the same thing that the same type of file only we are going to create here also. What are we going to do? We are going to create the students file wherein we have the contents of roll number, name and marks. So this is our heading. Okay. So how do you write the heading? It is a single row of information. So we just need to use right row. Okay. So we have the writer object dot right row and inside this you need to specify the list. Either way, you can either specify the contents of the list as such or you can have the contents of the list assigned to a variable and then pass the name of that list here. Okay, as argument to the right row. Anything is suitable here. Now that we should have a nested list so that the contents would be written onto our file, right? Now to have the nested list, here REC would be further used as in the due course of the program. It would be used as the nested list. So for this purpose, I have declared it to be the empty list currently. Okay. So I hope this much part is clear to you, which is the first and primary thing you need to have. You need to import the CSV module. Later, you have to open your CSV files. And since we are attempting to do the writing operation, we are going to open the file in the write mode. Okay, F is the file handle. And then the first thing we have to invoke the writer function. The writer function is invoked as csv.writer and an argument is passed. What is the argument passed? The file object. Okay. Now this function is going to return a writer object and what is the writer object? Is the writer. Okay. Now, using this writer object, we are going to invoke the method write row and write rows. So the first thing that we're going to write on the file is your header. Okay, the row is your header row. So this is supposed to be your header. We have declared an empty list, which is going to supposed to be the nested list. Okay. What is the next thing that you're attempting to do? We are trying to do an interactive program wherein we're going to read the values from the user. All right. So I'm going to I have written a loop here while true, and inside this I am prompting the user to enter the student details. Okay. So what all I'm reading? I'm reading the roll number, name and marks, and it is getting stored to the variables R, N and M respectively. Okay. So see the order in which I have read a roll number, name and marks. Now, right now what I have read is a record of information, isn't it? So this record has to be in the form of a list. Why? Because it has to be appended to our empty list that we have already created. So how do I do it? So I write, now imagine this is going to be assigned to the list with the name REC1. Okay, just a second. So what is the name of your list currently? REC1, and this list is going to be appended to our empty list. So what would happen? Your first content, or I mean the first value would be REC1. Now our REC already has, the file already has the header written, and in this nested list would just have the contents of the student record. Okay. Now, once you're done with appending the details of a single student, now I have just entered the details of one student. If you want this to be continued, or if you want more details to be entered, you definitely has to prompt the user for his choice. This particular choice is inputted in the variable ch. Okay, so if you have to continue, you have to press Y. Okay, and if you're pressing N or small n, what would happen? You break off from the loop. So that means you're done with entering the details and then you're coming out of the loop. You can either use it like this or use the in close like ch in n or n. Okay. Either way will do based on your choice or whichever you're flexible of writing. Now that I have used or operator, if your choice is no, you break out and come out of the loop. Okay. Now, since now REC, what would REC have? REC is a nested list which would have the entire contents of the records to be written onto your file. Now, we have yet not written onto our CSV files. How do you write it? Using write row or write rows. Imagine I'm going to use a write row here. How do I write it? I would run a loop for I in REC. So wherein I would be assuming each of the value or content inside your REC. So each content of REC again is a list or a record, right? So each of this record would be written onto your file. Which file? A file pointed by the writer object st writer. So this is how you would be writing. Now if you have to write the entire contents in one go, in that case you needn't use this for loop. In alignment with your whiles w, you would simply write st writer dot write rows of REC. Isn't it? If you have to write all the entire records in one go, you would be writing it like this. And in the end, what would you do? You would just close the file since all the operations are over. So I hope this is, you have understood this. Now, this is how the writing operation would work. I hope there are no more doubts. Is there any doubts? You may please post it in the chat. We've just learned the most simplest of the simplest, in the most simplest way of understanding the CSV files. Okay, so I hope there are no more doubts. And how would the contents of your file would look like? It would look like a roll number, comma, name, comma, marks. Okay. In the next line, whatever contents that you have written just now, it would be like, say, imagine CS01 and then your name followed by your mark. Okay. Then you would have CS02. Imagine XYZ, then the marks. So this is how your file content would be looking like. Okay. So I hope we can get to learning with the reading from the CSV files. Shall we? Okay. So what was the function that we learned for writing onto the CSV files? Writer function. Okay. Now how did you invoke it in your program? The module name dot the function csv dot writer. Okay. Now we learned that this particular writer function returned a writer object which could be stored in a variable, and it was using this variable that we were I'm sorry, we were writing onto the CSV files. Okay. Now that we are going to learn the reading operation from the CSV file. So see here, which is a function that we are going to for or use for reading. It is csv dot reader. Okay. So this is going to return a reader object. If a writer was returning a writer object, definitely reader would be returning a reader object. Right. So it would load the data from the CSV file into an iterable after passing the delimited value. Okay. So what does the reader function do? It would load the data from the CSV file onto an iterable after passing the delimited data. Now here again, we do not have separate methods as we learned for writing. Now let's get to see how things would be written. Read. Now, if you have to read, a CSV file has to be there or it has to be already existing. Only then the reading operation could be performed. To read data from a CSV file, we use the reader function of the CSV module. Now we just saw that in the previous slide. It gives access to each line of the CSV file as a list of fields. Okay. Now suppose we have a CSV file of this format. Okay. Imagine that this is a student details CSV file. Wherein the first row is your header row followed by the values. Okay. Followed by, the records. Now, how to read the data from a CSV file? So, imagine that this is our CSV file and we are attempting to perform the reading operation. So, how to read the contents of the CSV file? So, anything related with the CSV file, which is the first thing to be performed? Importing. So, import the CSV module using the keyword import followed by the name of your module CSV. Now open the CSV file, open a CSV file in read mode. Okay. So how do you open it? When you were attempting to do the writing operation, the mode of opening was W and here the mode of opening is R. Okay. Rest of it is as same as how we have written before. Fine. So which is the next thing that we are going to do? We are going to create the we're going to create the reader object. Okay. So how do you create the reader object? By using the reader function. So once you invoke the reader function, it would return the reader object. So how do you invoke the reader function? The name of the C module CSV dot reader, and inside the reader function you would pass as the argument your file object or your file handle. Now what is your file object or handle? F. Okay, because see here it is F. So F and ST reader here, this is your reader object. Okay. Now it is using, now you have the reader object, and it is with this help of the reader object are you going to read the contents of the file. See, when you're attempting to do the reading operation, what you usually do is once you read the contents from the file, you would print it on the screen. So that it is like a proof that you have read, you have done the reading operation from the file. Okay. So fetch the data using an iterable. So currently now that we are going to use the for loop, and then we are going to fetch the data row by row. For that I have used a for loop. Okay. So for line is your loop variable in stReader. What is stReader? Your reader object. Okay. Colon, and each time you would be reading a row, isn't it? And this particular row would be there in your variable line. And now that we are going to print this line. Okay. Now after fetching and each line and then printing on the screen, there is no more operations to be performed. What would you do? You would simply close the file. Okay. So once more, how to read the contents from a CSV file? Now, the first thing, the file has to be existing. I mean, there has to be some content in the file also. Only then can you do the reading operation. First and primary thing is importing the CSV module. How do you do it? Using the import keyword. After that, you need to open your file. Okay, only after opening can the operation be done. Now, the operation done would be depending on the mode in which you are trying to open. Now, since we are going to attempt the reading operation, the mode of opening is fine. And then you have the file object or handle which is copied to F. Now, this third step is creating the reader object. How do you create the reader object? Using the reader function. So, we have csv.reader. Okay. Now, in this function, you pass as argument the file object. Okay. And this reader function would return the reader object, that is stReader. Okay. And you're fetching the data using a for loop, row by row. How do you do it? So for line in stReader, print line. And in the end, you would close the file. So let's learn this with the help of program. Okay. So let's see. So we're going to first see a very simple program which is helping us to illustrate the working of the reader function. So import CSV module, then opening your CSV file, the same file, okay, in the read mode. Now, see, one more reason why I have used the same file here is because in my previous slide also I have created, okay, and then I have some contents already written onto the file. This is the reason why I have opened the same file, okay, in the read mode, and see your file handle is F. Now that you are invoking the reader function by passing the argument as your file object, and see stReader is your reader object. So for line in stReader, now you would print out each line by line and in the end close. Okay. Now this is exactly the same thing that we have seen in the previous slide also when we were learning the different steps of how to read from a CSV file. Okay. Now let us understand a program which would help you to search a record in the CSV file. Okay. So now that you are going to search a record in the CSV file, how do you do it? Now there is nothing to be written here. All you need to do is read and then find out whether this is a particular record that you are looking for. So what is the mode in which you would be trying to open the file? You would be opening the file in which mode? Read mode. Okay. So the first thing, you need to import the CSV module followed by opening the file in read mode. Okay. Then you would invoke the reader function by passing the file object f, and see, this is the reader object, okay, st reader. And now I would read the name. I would prompt the name from the user and save it in the variable name. Now what would I do? I have my reader object st reader. I would traverse each of the row. Okay, I would traverse each of the row in using my st reader. So now that a row would have the content of your of the nested list. The first each would be appearing in the form of a list, right? So the list, how do you address the contents of the list? Using the index value, right? So the first value would be residing at the index value 0, followed by 1 and then 2. Okay. Now, what is a row having? Since streader is pointing, it is almost like a file pointer, which would be pointing to your first, the contents of your file. Okay. And now, what should I do? I have the name to be searched in my variable name. Fine. Now I have to check the content of row of 0. Now row is your entire list and row of 0 would be the content at your index value 0. Okay. Now imagine that your first content is the name. Okay. And not the roll number. Okay. Your first content is the name. In that case, I'm not sure whether we have written as what were the contents? It was actually a roll number. Okay. So the content name is in the in the position 1. Okay. So what you try to do is you then imagine at the 0th value you have the name. In that case, row of 0 is compared with the value in the name, and if it is found matching, we have actually found the record, isn't it? So in that case, I would print the message stating that it is found, and then the entire record would be printed here, and then I will break from the loop. How do you come out of the loop? Using break. But imagine when you're coming out of the loop, you can either come out of the loop with finding a record and as well as not finding a record also. But since prior to breaking, I have already printed here. Now this will account or this will be positive only in the cases wherein you have the record present inside the file. Okay. Whichever search record that you're trying to search is already present in the file. Now imagine a case in which the record is not present in your file. Now what will you do? So definitely another message has to be printed on the screen stating that no, the record is not found. Okay. Now for this reason, I have used a variable flag. Okay. So prior to entering the loop itself, I have assigned the initial value of flag to be 0. And prior to breaking, prior to breaking means prior to using the break statement. That is, before that, I am actually printing the entire content of your row as well as reassigning the value of flag to 1 and then coming out of the loop. Is the idea clear? Now, outside the entire loop, what you need to do is just check for the value of the flag. If the value of flag is still 0, that means in no way such a conditional has come true. Okay, in no way the conditional has come true. It indicates that such a record was never matching till you reach the end of your file. So did the value of the flag change in any case? No, right? So all you have to do is check for the conditional as with the flag. If the current value of flag is still 0, in that case, I can assume that we have not found the record in the file. And this is how you would attempt a searching operation in a CSV file. Okay. All you need to remember is we need to open the CSV file in the read mode since we are not going to write any content in it, and then use the reader function. Okay. and then the reader object to traverse through the records and then check for the content. Okay. Yes, so that goes with the searching operation. Now that we are going to learn a program which would help to read as well as, write as well as read the data from a CSV files. Now that we had already seen the program for writing onto the CSV file, right? Where did we actually see it? Just a second. Where did we actually? Yes, see the program here, wherein we had a program to illustrate how writing in the CSV file could be done, right? So, what did we do? We first wrote the header onto our file using the write row method. Later, we prompted from the user all the records, in the format of roll number followed by name and then marks. And each of these records was written onto the file. Okay. You created a nested list and then written onto your file. Right. Now, we are going to do the same thing, all in one go. Okay. Just a second. Okay. So right now, what are we going to do? We are going to write as well as read data. Now, I don't think I'll have to explain the writing operation once again because we had already discussed this. Fine. So what do? We import the CSV module. Just a second. Let me change the pointer option. Fine. So we import the CSV module. Later on, we open the file in the write mode in the beginning. Why? Because we are attempting to make the contents of the CSV file. So we call the writer function first by passing as argument the file object. Then we write the header. We create an empty list REC, followed by we prompt the details of student details from the user. Each time we create a record, it is stored as a list in REC1 and then appended to REC. Fine. And then in the end of the loop, when you come out of the loop, you would have a number of records all in the format of nested list inside your list name REC. And what you do for I in REC, you would write each of the rows onto the file. Okay, using a write row. Now, since the writing operation is fully done, what do? You would close the file. Okay. Now, are we done? No. What do we have to do right now? We have to read the contents. Okay. Now, since the file was opened in the write mode, now that I have closed it, now I would reopen the file, the same file, in which mode? Again, in the read mode. This is your file object. Okay. Now you're going to invoke the csv.reader function, pass as the fs file object. This is your reader object. What is your reader object? SP reader. Fine. So for line in ST reader, each time what would the loop variable line have? It would have each of the records in the file. You're attempting to print it on. And in the end, you close the file. So this is how you can do both the operations. So this is how the entire program would look like. When you're creating a file, when you're writing the contents onto the file, fine, and then you're trying to attempt to read the contents from the file. Okay. CSV and Excel files. See, CSV has all the values with the separator as comma. Okay. So, the entire contents of the files can be imported onto the Excel files, wherein in the Excel it would look like it. The thing would look like a tabular format, isn't it? So it is easily, it is very easy to import in the sense map the values onto the different rows and columns. Okay, this is the same thing that I have illustrated in the very beginning when we were discussing the definition in the previous slide. You may please go back and look into the introductory slides wherein I had shown how things would look like when you open in an Excel sheet, as well as how things would look like when you open in a notepad. Okay, is that clear? And I hope I have answered you. Okay, fine. See, one more thing. See here in the writer function. See, I told you that you can have different delimiters also other than comma. Okay, the default value is supposed to be comma. If you want to have um, a different delimiter in the writer function, how you can do is you have the file object. Okay, so you can write like CSV dot writer, and then you have the file object comma delimiter is equal to, in quotes you can give whatever delimiter you want. If you want semicolon, you can give it. If you want the pipe operator, you can give it like that. If you want backslash t, you can give it like that. Okay, so the delimiters can be changed if you have the optional argument in your writer function. Okay, so this is completely optional. Usually you go with the default delimiter or the separator, which is at the comma, and hence the name CSV or comma separated values. Okay, so I hope, we have come to the end of today's session, and I hope I have answered all of you. Let me just check. Yes, so I think there are no more files. Okay, so to summarize, what all did we see in today's lesson? We looked into the definition of CSV files. Okay, CSV, the acronym for comma separated values, and why CSV was chosen. We also saw that why CSV files are more popular, and we saw the different features of CSV files, followed by the various advantages and disadvantages. Then we looked into the various methods used in the CSV files. What would be the different file operations? Definitely the read and write operations. So we had predefined methods and functions to do this particular operation. And to understand these functions and operations, we illustrated with the help of sample programs. Okay, and we also saw that the same CSV files, if you want, you can have it opened in a notepad, you can have it opened in the Excel sheet, okay, spreadsheet, and also in database, wherein things would look like in a tabular format, but only when it is imported onto a spreadsheet or a database can this be used for further analysis. Is the idea clear? Okay. So with this, we have come to the end of today's session. And the announcement, the notice that we have been circulating, that is the doubt solving batch, which is still running for the batch of class 12 who are appearing for the CBSE board in 2021. So the doubt solving batch has already commenced from 21st of December, and it would be running for the next 2 months. Okay, and look up how the timetable for the different sessions would look like. You have the same session running for class 11th also, which also commenced on 21st of December, and it will be running for the next 3 months till 5th of March. Okay. So if you have, for all those who would like to watch my lectures in the Unacademy Learning app, as I told you, it is not only the YouTube channel. Unacademy also has a learning app which can be installed in your smartphones, and then you can get a subscription, or if you want to unlock the free contents of the app, all you need to do is use my promo code SLYT, and if you use this invite code, the free contents and the free lectures can be unlocked. Okay. So if you want to have a look and feel of the app, okay, then you can definitely go for it. It is freely available in the Play Store. Just download and install it, and then select a goal, okay, and then you can use this promo code to unlock the free content. So with this, we have come to the end of today's session. Yes, that's all for the day. A very good night, and before bidding good night, let me remind you once again of my promo code SLYT, which would help you in getting a 10% discount in the Iconic as well as the Plus subscription. Okay, so the once you take a subscription, it would help you not only for the forthcoming board examination but also for the coming competitive examination that you are looking forward to. Okay, so with this note, we are winding up today's session. Thank you all for joining and hoping to meet all of you in my next class also. Okay then. Bye bye.